I see you. I see me. Just give it a second here. All right. We're streaming on Facebook. We're streaming on LinkedIn. And YouTube is always the last to go. Sending data, sending data. Come on, YouTube. There we go. Okay, good. I'm going to play the music and let us get started here. And here we go. Okay. Want to dance with me?
So you wanna be?
So you want to be? Oh, we got a dancer in the house. Look at this. He dances with his hands. Looking real. Cool and fine. Wait for the drums. Here we go. Here we go. Bop, 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 bop. Thank you very much to Serge Hoffman, who sings my lyrics and plays the music to my song, So You Want to Be. I'm Bonnie D. Happy to be here. I'm with my special new best friend, Trevor H. Let me refresh our encoder screen here so I can watch us live. Here we go. Trevor, I've invited you to be my newest cool dude. I think you're cool dude number 35. Does that excite you? Does that
That
make you?
is very exciting, and my wife and my kids they'll be amazed that I am a cool dude. They'll think that's pretty neat.
I get that comment from a lot of my cool dudes. What I'd like to do is I'd like to introduce you. I have a special, I won't call it a poem, I'll call it a rhyming introduction, if that's okay with you. And I want you to listen carefully. And when I'm done, and it's long, when I'm done, I want you to tell me what we left out. Okay, I have a collaborator on this, and her name is Sylvie. She's French, so we'll talk. Okay, here we go. You may know us well, Bonnie D and Trevor H too. Seasoned in life, we love what we do. From socials channels, virtual embrace, we love sharing our insights in this special space. Now here on We Dish, we're here to play, lightening up life in our uniquely fresh way. Welcoming Trevor H, a truly cool dude. Here's my rhyming intro. He'll add more with attitude. A life in verses. The Odyssey of Trevor Harrison. That's his name, Harrison. We're just using H here. Here we go. Born in 52 in Manitoba's plain with wartime tales at home, a reconnaissance dad and a mom in Ottawa's dome. From farmstead calm to churchly call, their paths would intertwine, a family forged in service, faith, and hopeful design. Young Trevor, map in hand at 8, dreamed wide of distant shores. He lingered o'er each atlas page, each city's storied doors. At 19, he thumbed rides west, then crossed the Atlantic foam. A month on Mykonos' sands, his wandering heart had found a home. Trevor scrubbed trains, swept floors, painted walls, a jack of many trades. In 74, he joined a study on income that persuades. Middle East and hippie trail, he wandered free and bold, Afghan plains to Indian trails where ancient tales are told. Back home is how am I doing so far? Do you know who this person is?
This is fabulous. I almost recognize
I
myself.
bet you do. Some people have
That's
trouble with this.
that's
Back
that's
home,
a cooler life than I imagined I had.
oh, you're cool. Back home as a scholar, Trevor began at Winnipeg's Old Hall. I on a BA in sociology, he rose to answer the call. Fort McMurray sands he probed as social guide and friend, then off to Kashmir's highest peaks where icy rivers bend. Calgary's campus next he climbed, added M.A., master's to his name. In 85 he wedded Terry, a life together in the frame. Children Jaina and Keenan graced their world, joys beyond compare. Then Trevor led group homes and supervised with compassionate care. A doctorate in tow by 93, Trevor's passion reached new height. Non-tenured lectures then he gave, social ills in plain sight. He penned hard-hitting political works, reforms, fervent dreams, and Trojan horses of Alberta, where futures shift and schemes. In Lethbridge halls he made his mark, tenure at lectern stand. His textbook on Canadian life spread lore across the land. A sequel next rode the world's churning, anxious tide. Then he spent 4 months in Sapporo's chill, where east and west, boom, collide. Japan's haiku-hued reflections birthed Trevor's essays, photos, and verse, then Fulbright wings to Georgia's climb, where north and south converse. A decade's directorship, Trevor steered in research's steadfast core, and in music's lesser-known hero, Frank Gay's guitar notes forever soar. Trevor's poetry sang aloud in his another voice tome as grandchildren's laughter lit his days, Max and Holly's home. Short stories on Elysian fields, Trevor's memoir painting a glow, and Safar Nameh soon to grace the world with tales from long ago. Now free to roam, to write, to lift, to taste new foreign fare, he charts fresh paths in fiction's realm, new poems in the air. From prairie roots to global trails, his spirit ever climbs. Trevor's life, a quest unbound, sublime in rhymes and times. What do you think?
Wow. That's really good.
Let me finish up here. We're here on We Dish, chatting on life's score, culture, music, food, and oh so much more. Join us live or on demand, day or night. We're not going to be here at night. That's what on demand is for. And enjoy our dishing with shared delight. Meet us for real in our live streaming glow. Comments are welcome. Just play nice. We know who you are. We know. We Dish, Two Saucy Dame and Cool Dude too. Bonnie D and Trevor H. Dishing on life's fun. Pour vous. That's French. So, Trevor, officially welcome. So, what'd you think of the welcome?
Glad to be here, Bonnie. That
I'm
that that was impressive, I have to say.
I'm glad. My collaborator Sylvie and I worked very hard on it, and your bio was very, very long. It was like 5,000 lines, though it was about 100 lines. And I said to her, help me do an overview, help me respectfully crunch the information and make it rhyme. Why not? So I'm glad you're any changes, anything, well, anything you'd like to embellish or enhance that we covered too quickly in the poem, in the rhyming bio, Trevor?
No, it's I think you certainly caught all the essence of my life. Earlier, actually, before we went on, you were saying that it seemed like an awful lot of stuff I've done. I've lived 5 lives or so, but one of the things is the longer you live, the more you have to look back on, I guess.
I
I'm
know.
always amazed at people who are, they're 21 years old and they're maybe a music star or something, and they come out with an autobiography, and I'm thinking, how much could you, I mean, maybe you've done some, but 21 years and you come out with all this, an autobiography? The thing is, you usually have to live a long time to know what you actually did.
This is very, very true. And one thing I've come to enjoy the most about this Cool Dude series, Trevor, is that people like you were very generous and gracious in answering my request to share the details of your life. And I'm always amazed. I have somebody who's been on one of my technology shows in the automotive space for years, for decades, since I started doing Coffee Break with Game Changers for SAP many years ago. And he's been on over the years, and he's been on my new technology show. I didn't know that he has owned 40 cars in his lifetime. I didn't know that he was an accomplished cook and chef who started at 8 years old working cooking with his grandma. I didn't know he's traveled and worked on 27 countries. I didn't know any of this at all. And it was in his bio. So I'm just amazed. And basically, I'm flattered that you have and my other cool dudes have shared so much information with me. And I'm glad I asked because I find it fascinating. I've tried to write my own resume back to when, and it was long. It was a lot. I didn't realize how much I've done, all the places I've been, all the people I've met, and it's nice filling
Yeah,
that.
and when you have that chance to kind of think back on, I think everybody has these wonderful stories to tell, and the longer you can sit and talk with them, you suddenly discover there's other parts that you thought you knew them, but there's always other parts. As you said, this person who has 40 vehicles and, is a cook or whatever else. And, you sit with someone and you say, I didn't know about that. I've known you for 20 years and I didn't know this other part of you as well, this ensemble of characters that you actually are.
Absolutely. Another gentleman who has his own tech company working with big companies around the world. He and his wife started a boutique of elite clothing for women, and he's produced some movies, some films. This was never, anyway, I want to talk about now I'm an aspiring writer and I'm still working on my novel. It's pretty much written. It just needs to be formatted, a little bit of editing. I've got the cover and I'm working on I have the preamble, pre dash amble. It's a satire. So everything is like this, you know me. So my question is, what motivated you to become, I'm going to use a very broad term. I hope you're not offended, a writer. You write political, you write biographies, you write poetry, you write memoirs. That's a very broad brush under the title of capital W writer. What motivated you to start writing, Trevor?
Hey, that's a wonderful question. All I know is that when I was very young, we had a very old typewriter around the house. It was probably like five or six. It was one of those old Underwoods, right, from about 1915 or something. And I would be typing out little stories. And in fact, I tried to sell some of the stories to a neighbor. I remember, I said 25 cents, and you can have my little journal here. But um, but I was always fascinated with stories, and I think I was writing kind of things in my head. And sometimes I would write little speeches or something, and sometimes I would just write fantasy kind of things. And when I was a teenager, I started writing poetry. I was reading poets all the time, Tennyson, Wordsworth, Keats, whatever. And but I just always was fascinated with words. And you remember kind of Reader's Digest has that section of here's cool words you should know, right?
Mm-hmm.
So whenever I was in a dentist's office, which it seemed to actually happen to me a lot, I would pick up those and I would turn to that page and I'd be studying these words. I was just fascinated with, learning, adding to a vocabulary. So, uh, and from there it just went on. I've been able to bounce from one style of writing to another. So I
Mm-hmm.
might be writing something academic and analytical, but part of me, then I would shift off to writing a short story or a poem or something. And yeah, so it's just been me. Yeah.
Interesting, interesting. I joined a poetry group, an online group. It's a it's a free drop in whenever you want to, no membership, but you become known to this community of poets. And I learned, Trevor, that there are over 120 different forms or styles of poetry. I didn't know that. It's run by writersdigest.com. And we, during the months of April and November, every year, I've been doing this for a couple of years, we get a prompt every single day early in the morning from the moderator. And people just post their poems, and then you go and comment with a thumbs up and comments. Oh, that resonated with me. Oh, wow. Oh, I love the last line. And it becomes a community, all positive. I've never seen a thumbs down, never, which is very interesting. And I've learned that my formats for writing, first of all, prose poem, I call it, where you just ramble, you just go and go and go. But then I've learned that I was writing what I thought were haikus, and that was mentioned in your bio. A haiku is about nature, but a senryu, Senryu, is about people and emotion. So I learned there's a difference in it's the same format, the same number of syllables, the same sequence, but a senryu is about emotion, not about trees and lakes and all of that. And then I learned acrostics. I've always loved, so I do acrostics. I've learned people can do backwards acrostics where the word is spelled upside down. I've learned about disappearing nines. Do you know what that is? Disappearing
No.
nine.
Oh,
It's where the first line has nine syllables and the next one is eight and seven until you get down to one syllable. I've learned about a tricube. Do you know what a tricube is? Three syllables, three lines, three stanzas. So it's 3, 6, 9, 27 syllables. Doesn't have to rhyme at all. A tricube. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 space. And then you do another nine syllables and another. That's a tricube. And limericks, I have developed a format where I'll call it, I break the fourth wall on the last line of the limerick. So it's AABBA rhyme scheme, rhyme, rhyme, different, different, rhyme, and rhyme. And I'll make my last line very conversational and very long when you say it without taking a breath. And it's very comedic. And I exchange what I'll call, and I know you've got an article for us to say what, that's a little on the bawdy side. Okay. Bawdy being a, yeah, but bawdy,
that and limericks just goes together, right?
there, body and body. We're going to come up with a body article later. But I have somebody on the site who writes slightly bawdy, old-fashioned limericks about, there was a boy named such and his girlfriend such. I write spontaneous rejoinders to his limericks on the site sometimes live, and then he rejoins mine, and we end up with this set of limericks that just go on. And this to me is so much fun because writing is something that we love to do, isn't it, Trevor?
Yeah, it's very creative and it should be fun. And
Yeah.
that's the thing, of course, yeah, that really comes out in limericks, but all kinds of writing can be great fun. It's a great way of expressing yourself and going off to some imaginary as well,
Yes.
that is really important.
What's your favorite? You've written political, you've written biography, you're writing a memoir, you've written poetry. What's your favorite? Is there a favorite, or do you love them all?
I love them all actually. They're different parts of myself. As I said, we're all kind of an ensemble of different people, and so each kind of writing that I've done expresses something of myself. I do like the analytical part of thing. I like working out why do people do things? What is the context in which people become the sort of people they are? But I also like the poetic, creativity part of it. It's almost kind of a romantic part of the poetry as well. And you mentioned the one biography I did of a musician who actually our family knew quite well. He
Hmm.
used to come and play at our house, and I would go to his shop. That was fun too because it was a very personal story about someone who was close to our family, and so to explore the life of someone that nobody else actually knew about, but our family did, I thought was really interesting.
Very, very. I'd like to read you one of my acrostics, if I may. I
Sure.
think you'll enjoy this. It was the word of the day was night shift. That was the prompt. And this goes back to July 24th, 2024. So if you can imagine NIGHTSHIFT, all right? So I'll try to emphasize that word. Never quite really at rest. It's the life of a creative. Going, gripping, gyrating, growling, groaning, growing, highs and lows flowing on a mental Mobius strip. The days are the nights are the days again, shifting off and on into and out of gear, hoping for unique brilliance even once. It's a calling, command, curse, roller coaster, finding eureka, euphoria amid frustration, fears. Thus is the life of the creative.
I like it, and I have to say actually that I love music. I'm not a great fan of rap, but that's actually really good. We could do something with that one.
I'll make a date with you to do a rap with that. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Nobody's ever had that reaction, but that's one of my favorites. And I love the challenge of an acrostic because you have to have that first letter of the word. First letter
Eh,
of each line is a letter from the word. Go ahead.
Well, and that's really interesting because we know there's actually a real connection between mathematics and music. But what you're actually expressing there is also a kind of a mathematical, very precise formula to writing poetry as well, certain styles of poetry, such as haiku that has certain rhythmic
Hmm.
patterns, right? And so, part of writing is how do things come together rather than compartmentalizing different areas, that it all comes together in interesting ways. And I find that fascinating myself.
Do you find writing cathartic as well in expressing a part of yourself sometimes that you can't express otherwise, that something comes out like, a poem or a short story, something of ourselves? Do you find that? Because I do.
Yeah, oh, for sure. And I think a lot of us as writers, that it's kind of exploring a part of yourself that maybe you can't express in your day to day or the other kind of work that you're doing. Certainly, my poetry is very much that way. I've often said that, academic writing tends to be you strip it down. You can't use adjectives. You're told not to use verbs and, or very sparingly. But all of a sudden, you can actually, in poetry, you can do that. You can express some kind of emotion and not be a dispassionate observer as you are
Yes.
in academia. Um,
Yes.
I did used to occasionally kind of stray into that. I sometimes smuggled, adjectives into academic writing that you're not supposed
Oh,
to do. So,
oh.
but my editors allowed me to do it, or they just didn't notice.
They noticed, but they allowed you, I'm sure, because they saw that personality creeping in. There you go. I didn't ask you in advance to do this, but sometime during our time together, I think this is going to be a long, long session because I'm just enjoying this so much. Would you like to read us some of your poetry today, Trevor?
Sure, I can. I'll give some thought about it, sort of in the back of
Yeah.
my mind as we're going
Yeah.
along,
Let's go
and
along
I'll.
and let's do some other parts of the show. And maybe when we get to the wacky stories, we can do some of your poetry. Okay, I'll give you
Yeah.
a chance. So, the next part of the show is I want to know about your cool dude music. Do you have some favorite songs that make you feel cool, that make you cool, that you just like a lot? What are some of your favorite songs?
Yeah, I'll. I did pick out five. I could have picked out a lot of them, and
Mm-hmm.
one of the things I and thinking about it is that there is a I, I I like music, just the sound of music. So we know that emotions come up just with the tune and the rhythm and the melody of music. But as a writer, I also really appreciate music where the lyrics come together, where the lyrics would almost stand on their own as poetry. And when you actually get melody and lyrics coming together, then I think you've really nailed it. And so the very first one I have here, it's because one that I remember listening to a lot as a kid is Nature Boy, Nat King Cole, who
Oh,
I just think the
oh,
lyrics are so beautiful and so meaningful.
can you recite a couple of the lyrics? Because I have a feeling a lot of our audience who will
Well,
see this
and
eventually were too young.
yeah, in fact, the lyrics are simple and yet very poignant, it seems. So I'll just read it here. There was a boy, a very strange, enchanted boy.
Mhm.
They say he wandered very far over land and sea. A little shy and sad of eye, but very wise was he. And then one day, a magic day, he passed my way. And while he spoke of many things, fools and kings, this he said to me: the greatest thing you'll ever learn is to love and be loved in return. Now, that's a beautiful lyric. And just that line, there's a great story there, by the way, also. The writer of that, who his name was actually George Alexander Aberle, but he went under the name of Eden Abes and he didn't have capital
Mhm.
letters. He became sort of almost a, what was it? The later hippie generation really liked this guy because he did kind of in the 1940s, 50s live an almost hippie transient lifestyle.
Mhm.
Nat King Cole discovers him with this lyric, and he actually gets a career as a songwriter. But he was well advanced at this point, and anyway, so it's just a fabulous story of the character himself. But
Mhm.
it's a beautiful lyric, and the tune is just fabulous.
Thank you for singing that. I didn't expect that, and I was keeping quiet, but I was humming along with you because it's just one of those songs that just brings you in and lets you in. You float, right? It's kind
Yep.
of a floating song. It's not this and it's not. It's just you just float along with the story. Oh, that was beautiful.
For any of your listeners, if they have not tragically never heard it, they really
Yes,
should look it up. It's a
yes.
beautiful piece of music.
Nature Boy. What's your second song?
Second one is actually one by that Bob Weir of the Grateful Dead made famous. It's Cassidy. And Cassidy is a song which, so this goes back to my love of kind of travel and so Neil Cassidy was actually the driver for Jack Kerouac.
Hmm.
Jack Kerouac on the road and all that. Jack Kerouac couldn't drive.
The Beat Generation, right?
Beat generation.
There you go.
So Neil Cassidy he had a very problematic life, and but anyway, he ends up actually as the driver for Ken Kesey, One Flew Over the
Of
Cuckoo's Nest,
course.
and all
Oh
that.
my.
But he dies basically of drugs and alcohol on the side of a road in New Mexico. But anyway, the song is about Cassidy, but there's another part to it. So when Bob Weir wrote the song, his I think his manager of the band, the Grateful Dead, also was having a daughter at the time,
Hmm.
and who we named Cassidy, slightly different. So the song is actually two Cassidys, but there's a one lyric of the song goes, "Lost now on the country miles in his Cadillac. I tell by the way you can smile, he is rolling back. Come wash the nighttime clean, come grow the scorched ground green." Anyway, it's a wonderfully lyrical song again, great beat. And so it does have kind of a relation to Jack Kerouac, the riot driver as well. So
I'll
yeah.
have to find that one. Interesting. Okay, what's your next one? These are fascinating.
Third one, actually, one that is sort of personal tale, breaking. Lots of songs are tales of us early romance and breaking up. There was a young woman that I had lived with for a couple of years, and we broke up. And at the time that we were breaking up in the late '70s, Jackson Browne brought out a an album, Running on Empty, and it seemed to me that it's a fabulous album. I think every song on it's just incredible. But and it really appealed to me at the time. But there was one song particularly on there called "Love Needs a Heart," and the first lines say, "Maybe the hardest thing I've ever done was to walk away from you, leaving behind the life that we'd begun. I split myself in two." And so
Oh,
uh,
powerful, powerful.
when that song came out, and I had just broken up after living with this woman for 2 years, and I had a friend who actually had the album, and I've often thought that I probably should have bought him another, version of it because I probably ground down the vinyl on it because I would play it over and over and over. It was like one of those songs, one of those albums that, in a moment of intense emotion or grief,
Hmm.
you go to all the time.
Yes.
It's a place you have to go to. And anyway, so I wore out his album listening to that. That was again a lyric that really spoke to me at the time. It was like Jackson Browne wrote this song for me.
That's beautiful. I will tell you there are certain TV show introductions. I watch a lot of French procedurals, detectives, usually with a very strong female lead who's a detective or a chief of police or something. I used to speak fluent French, and now I like to listen to other people do it because I don't do it too much anymore. But very often there's a theme song in the opening of the show, and if the songs are very emotional, not even the words, just the music, Trevor,
Yeah, yeah.
it evokes so much emotion in me. Sometimes I cry.
Oh,
I just cry. Sometimes I just push skip intro to go
yeah.
past it because the songs, and many of these, interesting enough, some of these French shows, many of them have their theme songs with English lyrics. They are sung in English, even though the show was produced in France. That talks about the universality of love. A lot of these are love songs. And I'll just listen and I'll just sit there and start to cry. And I have to realize that the music and the lyrics, what I can hear if it's in English, is talking to me like the songs you just described talk to you. It's like another form of poetry, right? Is music, is lyrics put to a sound.
And I think we've all been there. There's certain songs, and no one else. The song may not appeal to anyone else, but it somehow touches you particularly.
Right here, right here, right
Yeah,
here.
exactly. And I'm the same. Even it doesn't have to necessarily be the lyrics. The lyrics add to it, but there's certain songs like Nessun Dorma,
Yeah.
famous opera piece.
Hmm.
Just the emotion that is in
Yes,
that melody is sometimes I almost want to weep. It's just so powerful.
you
And
get
as
it.
you grow older, you suddenly become more soppy, I guess. But I find
Oh, are
myself,
we growing old? Are you talking about you? You're not talking about me.
no, no, not you. You haven't hit it yet. But with me, I know that anyway,
I,
music has that amazing
it
capacity
does.
to take us places that inside ourselves that we don't always know.
And when you think about it, what we're talking about is somebody's writing notes. Those notes are the poetry. Those notes are the words
Yeah,
that speak to us. It doesn't have to have a lyric. It's the notes put together that are the poem, that are the story, that are the haiku, right? I know we're
yeah.
getting very deep here, but these are interesting discussions that I don't get to have with people very often. So thank you. Do you have any more songs? Because I've got some on my own. You got another one?
Well, I've got two more
Yeah,
here,
please
and
go ahead.
actually, the next next one is one written by Townes Van Zandt, but everybody sort of knows it because it's Willie Nelson and Merle Haggard,
Hmm.
famous piece of it, and that's Pancho and Lefty. And it's a song about that sort of, you imagine that he's written this song about Pancho Villa, and you know in there's kind of a tradition I think is part of the Canadian culture is we have, as Leonard Cohen wrote a book about beautiful losers, and so for me at least there's a sense about some people who are flawed heroes, like they're tragic figures, almost Shakespearean.
Hmm.
And so this song is almost like this about this guy Lefty, who's a kind of a tragic hero, and he actually leads to the death of Pancho Villa. Anyways, it's a very complicated song, but there's something about that song again that appeals to my sense of
Hmm.
sadness about somebody who's kind of a beautiful loser, somehow. And yeah,
Hmm.
so
You just gave away your Canadian background because you said about. I heard the first Canadian come out of about. Okay, what's your next song?
on the last one again, I said, as a writer, I love lyrics that could stand on their own or fabulous poetry. And so I have actually picked a Canadian writer here. I think an amazing writer, Joni Mitchell. And why I think one of Joni Mitchell's absolute best songs ever, because musically it's amazing, but lyrically it's incredible,
I
is
know Joni Mitchell. I can't wait to hear which one you're picking. Go ahead, surprise me.
Amelia. I'm going to pick
Know
Amelia.
that one. I was thinking Big Yellow Taxi or one of the other ones.
Oh, and so many songs I could pick.
Ah,
But
ah,
Amelia actually brings together thematically a whole bunch of stuff. One, it's travel. It's about Amelia Earhart,
uh-huh.
but on the surface, but it's also about kind of bad relationships and getting over them, and then it also ties in, as you know, I have a real fondness for Greece. So it also refers to Icarus, the guy who goes on wax wings and crashes and burns, right?
Into the sun, right?
And so here she's talking about Amelia Earhart, almost kind of a counterpart to Icarus, who's up in
Hmm.
the sky and
Yep.
crashes and burns, but going through relationships that you also crash and burn. Anyway, the lyrics to this are, just I'll read a few of these lyrics and just
Go
you
ahead.
imagine,
Um,
think about what incredibly articulate lyrics these are. I was driving across the burning desert when I spotted 6 jet planes, leaving 6 white vapor trails across the bleak terrain. Like the hexagram of the heavens, like the strings of my guitar, Amelia, it was just a false alarm. How many people writing lyrics in a song use the word hexagram? I mean, that's just, I mean, then
that,
then
that's Joni Mitchell. Go ahead.
that's Joni Mitchell, and she can get away with it. She's just an amazing writer. So and just the ghost of aviation, she was swallowed by the sky, or by the sea like me, she had a dream to fly. Like Icarus ascending on beautiful, foolish arms. Amelia, it was just a false alarm. Again, this is incredible poetry. It
Yes.
stands without the
Yes.
song.
Yes.
And finally, this get this imagery again. I pulled into the Cactus Tree Motel to shower off the dust, and I slept on strange pillows of my wanderlust. I dreamed of
Mm.
747s over geometric farms. Dreams, Amelia, dreams and false alarm. Geometric farms. I mean, this is like,
Yep.
wow.
Yep. Yep. We got a math teacher here. Wow. Very, very interesting.
Yeah.
There's so much you could read into those lyrics at the time they were written and at today, what we won't do on this show. But yes, absolutely. And when I mentioned Big Yellow Taxi, I'm thinking they paved paradise and put in a parking lot. Think
Oh,
about the implications of that line, Trevor. Think about it.
yeah, telling for today as we look around
You
the world.
don't know what you've got till it's gone.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. So, yeah. So, Joni Mitchell ahead of her. Wasn't she on one of the was the Grammy shows last year? And I think she had suffered a stroke.
She had
And
suffered a stroke. It is a
she learned to speak
remarkable,
again, and they
yeah,
wheeled her out in a wheelchair. She came out and she actually, in a slightly throatier voice than she used to have, memorable, very, I'm going to make her cry. And she went through, she sang one of her songs
yeah.
on the award show, and it was very touching.
It is a remarkable comeback
Yeah,
because, and the thing is, a lot of people don't realize she is a fabulous painter as well. She
really.
is a real artist in every sense of the word. So yeah,
Ah,
we're
made me cry. You didn't make me cry. Joni Mitchell made me cry. It's interesting how much we remember of the people who've become cultural icons, if I'm allowed to use that term. I remember seeing Joni Mitchell on TV on that award show 1 or 2 years ago. I remember her voice. I remember her story. Why? I've got a lot of other things going on right now. You mentioned her. I remember lyrics from her songs. Think about what music and the poetry of music, whether it's the notes or the words or
yeah.
both in combination. Think about how that's ingrained in us. And they say people who have, let's just say, memory problems, and we won't put a label on that, medical or diagnostic or anything, music stays with them. Interesting. Music in the heart, in the mind, in the brain. Music stays with us. Very. Oh, before you can't make the host cry, Trevor. That's a really bad form. Sorry. Would you like to hear some of my songs, which are a lot less emotional?
I would love to hear
Well,
this.
I've got a whole list. I do these on all the shows, but I'm just going to read a whole bunch and I'll just jot them off here. So, uh, the stories of my life. One, Girls Just Want to Have Fun by Cyndi Lauper and Groovin' by the Young Rascals. Think about that.
Oh, love that song.
Then
Grooving
on a
outside
side,
the afternoon.
that's, oh, we
Great
got a
song.
singer here. This is great. Then we have You Don't Own Me by Leslie Gore and I Am Woman, Hear Me Roar by Helen Reddy. Isn't she a Canadian, Helen Reddy, I think?
Uh, Australian.
Australian. Okay, well, I knew it was somewhere
Very
not here.
close.
Very close. Then we have Janis Joplin's Me and Bobby McGee, 1971. Freedom's just another word for nothing left to lose. Isn't that part of the story of your life and mine, Trevor?
I
Seriously?
love that. I love that song too. And I have to tell you, when I used to hitchhike a lot, there was a few songs that I had that I would sing to myself while I was out there. I would do the Chris Christopherson version, but I would sing that song to myself.
There you go.
Uh, the Eagles put me on a highway, show me the sign. That's
Yes.
another one I would sing. But
Yep.
yeah, for sure, always me and Bobby McGee was up there.
There
Yeah.
you go. Now, another one is this is on the other side of that. Hit Me With Your Best Shot, Pat Benatar. Respect by Aretha Franklin. I Will Survive by Gloria Gaynor. And if you follow that line of Up, New Attitude by Patti LaBelle. I've got a new attitude. From my head to my head, top of my head to my shoes, I got a new attitude. Love that song. So I've been hit by people's best shots many, many times, especially women in business. I've taken, and some men too, but women, very, very hard as managers. And then I have, let's go on the happy side, Dancing Queen by ABBA, because I've taught dancing for many, many years. Now I just dance in my kitchen alone. Happy Dance by Mercy Me. It's a Christian band. I'm not a Christian, but the song is just delightful. You please, Trevor, go find the video for Happy Dance by the band called Mercy Me. You will just rock your socks off. You will laugh so hard. You will laugh until you're dancing all over the house. Happy Dance by Mercy Me. A radio guest suggested that about 2 years ago. I Feel Better When I'm Dancing by Megan Trainor, who is coming into her own. Here's the line. Show the world what you can do. Prove to them you've got the moves. I don't know about you, but I feel better when I'm dancing. Yeah, yeah. I thought that was a great line.
And we all do. It's
She's a
true.
young singer-songwriter and she's coming into her own. She's doing advertisements on TV now and she's on a lot of the award shows. Very good writer. And let me see. Here's another one. I think I've got, oh, now. I was teaching disco back in the day when disco was a thing, and I had hundreds of people in my classes teaching line dances. Hundreds, hundreds. Okay. This was when Saturday Night Fever just came out. I won't give you the whole lore. I usually do on the show, but Donna Summer became one of my favorites. And my dance partner, Michael, who was a former Arthur Murray teacher, long, skinny guy with a long beard, and he lived in a trailer in the woods somewhere. We were in Eugene, Oregon, and I didn't live in a trailer in the woods. And his aunt introduced us, and she said, my nephew, Michael, great dancer, meet him, and we started teaching classes. We taught ballroom, we taught Latin, we taught line dances, and we went to the senior centers on our lunch hours. We both had full-time jobs. And then we got everybody together in a disco, and the DJ would put went all these mostly single women, older women, seniors, and the DJ would come down and dance with them. And anyway, so Donna Summer became one of my favorites, and Michael and I entered a disco Hawaii contest. We made our own costumes. We bought blue hammered silk. I made my own top and a beautiful black satin skirt. His mom or grandma sewed a beautiful big sleeve shirt for him. And so we were matching in the blue and black outfits. We danced to part of Heaven Knows, the MacArthur Park Suite from Donna Summer. Donna Summer is one of my favorite. And it's Summer, Summe, or not Summers. A lot of people call her Summers. Very sad that she left us too soon. Here is
Mhm.
a list of her discography that is the story of my life. Number one, she works hard for the money. We know that one. She works hard for the money. Hot stuff. I've never been a streetwalker in San Francisco, but I've been called hot stuff over and over again on the radio. Well, I've been doing this for about 20 years. Surprise, surprise. No More Tears. Enough is Enough. I think that was a duet with, might have been with Barbara. Enough is enough is enough. Da, 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 da. Last Dance. Well, I don't teach anymore and I don't have a partner anymore, but I dance.
Great song.
I
Yeah.
Feel Love with Giorgio Moroder, that machine beat and the tempo in
Yeah.
the back, the synthesizer, and Heaven knows just how much I love you. And Michael and I came in third in the Disco Hawaii contest, and we didn't know that the woman who won first until after owned a dance studio. She was a professional, and she entered the contest, and we came in third, but we had a blast designing a song, and we came in from opposite sides of the floor. This was in a nightclub called the Copa in Eugene, Oregon. Nothing like the Copa in New York, where I have been. And we came in from opposite sides of the floor. I was about 97 pounds at the time. Michael was tall and skinny and strong. We came in from opposite sides. Trevor came to the middle. He lifted me up, did the spin, Saturday Night Fever style, over his head. I was very lightweight. And then he death dropped me to the floor, 3 inches above the floor, and spun me around. My skirt went out in a full 360 circle, then set me on my feet, and we did our routine. Heaven knows just, it was da 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 da, was the beginning of something like that. Sorry, Donna, if I messed that one up. It was, you can tell how excited I was. It was so much fun. So that discography from Donna Summer, I think that's my story. What do you think?
It's a great story. And that sounds like it was a lot of fun. A
It
lot of
was. It really, really was. I was a full-time programmer analyst working at a place called Lane Community College. They hired me right after 2 years of school, hired me to run a statewide community college reporting system. And I was key punching my cards, 80 column Hollerith cards. I was writing COBOL for a Xerox Sigma 6 CP5 mainframe system. And back in the day, women and men, all genders, I'll just say that broadly, all genders were welcome in computer programming. It wasn't like, oh, you're a girl, you can't do that. No, my class was mostly, we were either graduates from other schools. I already had a bachelor's degree in psychology and a minor in math. We had people who didn't want to finish architecture school, med school, law school. Everybody said, computer programming, what is that? That sounds like maybe the math part of my brain had nothing to do with math. It was logic.
yeah.
Math part of my brain would be excited. And they all came together in this community college. And we took 2 years of programming and operations classes. I ended up with two more degrees. So I'm rambling on here. Thank you for listening to my story, Trevor.
Well, as you were talking about that, though, and I was taken back, and obviously both of us can identify with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thinking back to those mainframes, I mean, I remember, when I first go to university years ago, and these computers, there's whole rooms taken up with and all those key punch cards. And now people don't realize that you're going around with your cell phone. It has the equivalent of the power that one of those things would have had years ago, and
Yes.
now it's shrunk down to a cell phone or your
Yes.
iPad.
I
Uh,
was invited to be
Incredible.
the kickoff speaker for an organization called Women in Big Data 2 years ago on International Women's Day, March 8th, I believe it was, 2023, I think. And they said, we found you, we know about you. We think that's when they called me an early woman in tech. I didn't even know there was such a thing. And I put together God help me, a PowerPoint, and I found a picture of a mainframe computer. I found what the Xerox Sigma 6CP5 looked like. I still have my COBOL handbook, silver cover handbook. I found green bar paper, Trevor, that I still have from my printouts with the core dumps. I found my handwritten notes. A consultant in Salem, Oregon would call me up and say, Bonnie, get out a ruler, get out a legal pad, line down the sideline across the top, 5 columns this way, 5 rows this way. This is the column headers. This is you're going to write a program. And he would give me instructions. And I was writing it down on pencil and paper at my desk. And then they paid me extra on the weekends to do extra programming. I was a contractor for my own job. So Monday morning I came in, I key punched the damn thing and ran it in production, and I made some extra. We're not talking a lot of money here, and I won't tell you the year, but you can imagine they paid me from slush funds all over the whole community college system in Oregon. It was fun, but anyway, it was just an interesting. So I showed these young women what this all looked like, and they were thinking, is she from another planet? What's an 80 column card? What is a key? Well, it's like a big typewriter, and you code in, it puts little holes in this card. You carry them in a box, and the operator puts them into a stack in the computer and feeds them in. And that's the job control with the job control language. And the program goes into the computer and it does something.
And
They were
then you wait for hours to get the printout, and maybe it comes out on paper where it's all these sprockets, right? And it's like
Next
like
time we meet, I'll show you. I still have green bar paper here somewhere, and I have handwritten notes. I was a master at debugging a core dump when a program abended. And abend's another word for abort, when something happened and it didn't finish. And you had to go into these pages and pages of hexadecimal 16. You had to go in and find the place, the address of the abend, and fix whatever the problem was. Bad data, bad card, a missed opportunity for something to happen in the program, a wrong branch. Anyway, it was exciting. It was, I felt like my young brain was on fire
oh,
doing this.
I mentioned earlier that when I was like 5 years old, and we had this old Underwood typewriter around, right?
Hmm.
For the longest time, that typewriter was still pretty standard. But and in fact, the keyboard for the computer now is the same one that was set up for the for typewriters. But in our yeah, exactly. And so one of the best skills I ever learned in school, because actually one of the things I didn't add in there is I don't actually have a high school diploma. I fell short of the credits to get it, but I also really didn't care. But but the thing was that so you're working on this, and you're typing away, and I learned typing so I can now type pretty well. But in most of our lifetimes, we've gone from those old typewriters, those Underwoods,
Hmm.
to suddenly I can remember getting an IBM Selectric, where you can
Ooh,
backspace, and it's like, wow,
backspace.
that little eraser tab thing, you can go back. And then all of a sudden, when I was doing my first degree, I was getting I had this little Mac computer. I always refer to as like the R2D2 because it was very cute. It's very
What
tiny.
year? What year was your Mac?
I got it to do, actually, I got that to do my doctorate. So I got it around 1992, right? So,
My first Mac
and
was
it's
1988. Go ahead.
okay. So, well, and before that time, so we've all, I think, guess gone through, like, we have a kind of a computer museum someplace we could have, because
Hmm.
I had a Commodore 128. And the
Ooh.
kids used to think this was really cool because you could play games like Hangman and stuff on it. Uh, and then I moved on to some. Anyway, I've had Macs for the longest time, but that
Me
Mac
too.
Classic got me through my doctorate. And then of course, now we have iMacs and everything else. But in our lifetime, the technological changes, a lot of which for a writer are just incredible. Like, you don't have to retype
Mhm.
everything over and over again. Now you can copy paste. You can, yeah, it's amazing.
You told me you weren't a techie, but you sure sound like it.
Well, I like what it can do. I just don't want to have to explain what it does.
Listen, my first Mac, my parents funded it for me because I wanted to be a graphic designer. I think I was between jobs. And my first Mac was a desktop Mac and a black and white printer. Any
Mm.
idea what it cost in 1988? I know, I remember. I'm going to blow a lot of people's minds here. Any idea? Do you remember what it would have cost back then?
Well, I'm trying to think because the
Think
price would
big.
be different inflation now, but
Think big.
yeah, 3,000?
More like with the printer it was 12 grand.
You know, interesting thing you were saying about the graphics and stuff, though, and I
Mhm.
mentioned the Commodore.
Yep.
You know, it was actually Commodore was bought out by Apple. And
Mm,
so it was the graphics of Commodore was fantastic. And so Apple bought it when it was going under, and they basically adopted all those graphics. So it was kind of
mm.
an integration of two companies. So yeah,
People talking to each other. Interesting, very interesting. Oh, you and I have so much. There's going to be a 3 hour show, but not today. Listen, I want to move to the next part. And thank you for the songs. Thank you for the lore about the songs.
for sure.
I appreciate your knowledge and your memories. And I forgive you for making me cry by mentioning Joni Mitchell. There we go. So I have a couple of questions. Well, calling this segment the OTT off the top, fast and furious. I sent you a list of things I might ask, and it's not going to be an interview, it's a conversation. So anything I ask you, I will answer as well. So let's start off with I think I know the answer to this, but let's hear you put this into your own words, Trevor H. Harrison. Your creativity superpower. What do you think it is if you can hone in on your many skills, your many appetites for creativity, and what you love about it, and maybe what you don't love about it? So go ahead. Creativity superpower.
Uh, I'm interested in a lot of things, and in one way or another, I quite often can kind of bring them together, things that may not automatically seem they fit together, but I'm able to pull them together in some kind of interesting way. And I think I've always been able to do that from time I was a kid. I was interested in everything under the sun and somehow trying to find connections.
And what's the part you don't like about it? Is there a downside to that superpower?
Uh, well, it can drive you a little bit crazy because you could, if you don't control it, you can get scattered.
Yes.
And the other thing is, of course, you start to run out of time. I have to say, actually, one of the things is I've never been a great sleeper, partly because there's too much things to do. I once said to a friend, I hate the idea of sleep. I mean, it's not that I hate sleep per se, but I hate the idea of it. It just seems like time that's kind of wasted there. So, what my late mother actually used to tell the story so many times that I have to assume she was not lying because mothers don't lie, of course. She said that as when I was a baby, her and dad would walk in the room and they never actually saw me sleeping. I was always lying in bed just staring at the ceiling. And I think even then something was going on. So through high school, I probably had 4 hours of sleep or something. I've always been, as soon as I wake up, I start to think about things. And so, yeah.
Well, I'm going to answer the same question, and I've never said this before, but ditto, ditto, ditto. I probably get around 6 hours of sleep, but I'm not sure how often they're 6 hours. And I bought a smart bed, a very fancy smart bed, and it gives me the biometrics on an app on my phone. It tells me how long it took me to stop being restless and how long my sleep and my breathing rate and my heart rate. Way too much information for me, but my kids told me I needed to get a smart bed, and that's okay. So, but this, let's see, last night I fell asleep watching a TV show that really was emotional for me, and I fell asleep, woke up on the couch about 12, I think. I couldn't get to bed fast enough. Turned off the lights, turned on the outside lights, put the alarm on, went to bed, hit the pillow. Usually I do words with friends. I have 50 games with people all over the world, and that basically drains my thinking brain and lets me go to sleep. I couldn't even open my iPad. I lay down, hit the pillow. That was it. Out cold. Well, guess what? That's the problem. I was awake at 4 o'clock this morning. 4 o'clock. So I read some of the news came in, some headlines came in. Well, that wasn't too interesting. At 4:30, I said, well, this is nuts. I got up. I came
Yeah,
in my office here.
yeah.
I played Wordle from yesterday because I was too sleepy to do it, and today I did the
We
time.
do that every night, my wife and me.
I did the
Yes.
Times Mini. I did one in 57 seconds and one in a minute and 16 seconds. I did Blossom, I did Strands, and I did Connection, making up for yesterday. I found the archives and today. And then I started working on your introduction for today. And when I was good and tired and my eyes were closing, I went back to sleep for 3 hours at 6 o'clock this morning. So my sleep is it's segmented. But I agree with you, Trevor, that this super creativity, there's always something going on. I need to do this. I need to work on this poem. I need to work on my novel. I need to work on an intro for this show. I have three different series right now. I want to, I have to, I will, I must. I forgot. That's it all. It takes away from sleep and it also makes sleep very interesting. Do you think you remember your dreams a lot?
Occasionally, and I've often thought I wish I had written them down, but and I suspect we're very much alike this way, Bonnie, that one of the things is also I find that there's a part of my unconscious working on things even when I'm not aware of it. And so
Yes,
that's
yes,
what starts to come through. It's like
yes.
you got to deal with it. So that I learned years ago that if I was working on something and my mind was really concentrated, if I tried to sleep, I might wake up 2, 3 in the morning again,
Mm-hmm.
and I might try to get back to sleep, but that idea is there. And so finally, I just give up. Like I just realize it's like I have to get up, I have to work on this thing because it's not going to let me sleep anyway. And once I exhaust myself working on this, now I can go back to bed again
Yep.
and get some sleep. But as long as that thing is in my head, I have to do it.
It's
So
like an earworm of an idea,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
It just sits there. I know, I agree. And sometimes I'll wake up and struggle to remember a dream, something I really, really, really want to pay attention. I had a dream. I won't tell you what it was, but it was not a fun dream last week. And I wrote it down a little sticky because I want to talk to my therapist about it next Monday, and I didn't want to forget. So I put this little sticky note on my desk here, and I'll have it. Hopefully, I'll remember to share it with him. Anyway, here we go. Next point of OTT off the top. Start of your day. What powers you? Because I know it takes a lot of energy to run at the speed and the depth and the level you are, Trevor H. So is it a drink? Is it a food? How early is it? Is it just coffee? Tell me what do you start your day with that nutrition wise or any other term you want to use? Go ahead.
Coffee.
Coffee.
I
Okay.
need my coffee in the morning, and I'm actually don't get into creativity really fast. I kind of ease into the day, but my energies keep peaking throughout the day. So that when some people, let's say, and I could never have really worked well at a 9 to 4 job or something like that. My energy keeps peaking into the evening, and that's why, say, 11 o'clock, midnight, I'm now really ready to go. And so when I was in university, quite often I would end up writing my papers at 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning, whatever.
Yes. Yes.
And
Yes.
then finally again collapsing at 4 or 5, getting a
Yep.
few hours sleep, and then into the coffee routine again. But yeah.
I remember many overnights in college when I was getting my bachelor's degree in New York, and I remember many overnights sitting in my room. My roommate was sitting in the hall. I don't know what I was typing on a keyboard. We didn't have computers. I don't know what I was doing, handwriting. I was writing a paper or something overnight. When I decided to be a playwright about 10 years ago, I just decided I wanted to write a romantic comedy play. I downloaded something called Playwriting 101, and it was a document that I poured into a Word document. It showed me how to set up the scene and the date and the time and define each character briefly with a little mini bio so we knew who they were and what the ambiance was and what the setting was and all that. I spent 3 nights writing that play from 1 to 4 in the morning. I had a full-time job, but at 1 in the morning, it's playwriting time, Bonnie. Get on that computer. 3 nights in a row, and it was done.
Yeah.
It was good too. I'll send you a link if you want to see it. It's on my
Yeah.
Vimeo channel. And what I did was I had a TV show called Something to Talk About on Long Island Cable, and I called my friends who were community theater actors and I said, "How'd you like to act in my play?" And they said, "Well, we're doing a lot of other plays right now and we're busy." I said, "You don't have to memorize a thing. I will set up monitors with the script in front of you. You just find a way to not stare at it when you're talking to somebody. We'll put it in your sight line, and we'll have a monitor for each of you, three people in the play. And it took place in front of Penn Station in New York. A couple on a dating site wearing funny glasses and fake noses like Groucho Marx and with a number instead of a name. And they had to identify themselves in a crowd. And we filmed a scene. My director went, he was in New York all the time, filmed a scene in front of Penn Station in rush hour. And then he filmed the noise of taxis and buses in the background. And we had a green screen setting, and they sat on a plain bench in a studio that was empty with a green curtain. And the taxi driver, they got into the cab. I downloaded a picture of a van, and we had one with the door open and the door closed. So we switched that. And we had them sit on the bench, walk from standing to sitting on the bench, which was now inside the superimposed green screen cab, and the cab driver on a plain chair. And I bought a plastic steering wheel column in a novelty store, and he was driving the cab. And it looked, and then we had the background of the noises and the scene of New York traffic behind them. We edited it down to 26 minutes to fit a 30-minute time slot with a couple of PSAs in it. And it was recorded. And we did two versions. There were a couple of actors who wanted to be in it. So I wrote a second version that was a little bit different ending, just a little. And the female in it, we didn't have another girl for that part. She put on a blonde wig, and so she was a brunette in one and blonde in the other. I'll send you both versions. But I
That's
wrote that overnight,
very
Trevor.
creative.
I wrote
Very
that
creative.
overnight, and it was fun.
Yeah.
It was
And when you have the something like that, you just you have to do it, right? Like your energies, you can't do anything else until you work on that.
nothing. I've
Yeah.
written two more plays and produced. I'll send you the links to all of them. They're on my Vimeo, and it's just a lot of fun. So, writing overnight, sometimes the characters say, "Wake up, I got to tell
Yeah.
you a story." And you got to
Yeah.
do it. You can't say no.
No.
Cannot say no. They will plague you. Okay. Now, next. Oh, what do I do? Oh, by the way, in the morning, banana shake. Uh,
Okay.
1 or 2% milk, frozen sliced strawberries, unsweetened, a squirt of raw agave syrup instead of sugar, and half a banana and some dry unsweetened cocoa, and pulse it in an individual blender, and then take the top off and put a reusable straw in it. Your coffee, do you make it? Do you make it at home? Do you brew it? Do you buy it? What kind of
Yeah,
coffee?
no, I brew it here. Quite often, I will grind the beans, and there's no better smell in the world than that.
Okay,
Along with the coffee in the morning, I'll usually either have some toast or some porridge or something, to
porridge.
wake
It's
up.
such an old-fashioned word, porridge.
Well,
We
actually, I have a
call
great story to tell you about that because
it.
my wife was actually down in she did her work took her down to California once and she was meeting with a number of other American colleagues down there, and she came down to in the morning and asked if they had porridge, and their comment was very much the same. They thought, "Oh, what a quaint term! How very Canadian again."
It's oatmeal, right?
So it was oatmeal, exactly. All of her American colleagues said it was oatmeal, and she had come up with porridge. They thought anyway. Again, a distinction, I guess, between the two countries.
Very cute. We'll leave it at that. No comments. You stay there and I'll stay here. Okay. Next. This is a really tough one. Okay. Oh, oh, the phone's ringing. Uh-oh, uh-oh, uh-oh. Let me take the call. Oh my goodness. It's a whole group of movie and TV directors are calling and they want to write a story about you, Trevor H. Spielberg's on the phone and James Cameron and Tarantino and Scorsese and Ron Howard and Clint Eastwood and Robert Zemeckis and Francis Ford Coppola and Guy Ritchie and Christopher Nolan. You must be very popular. Oh, and the TV contingency wants to come in. Shonda Rhimes, Aaron Sorkin, Chuck Lorre, Lauren Michaels, Seth MacFarlane, and Robert King and Michelle King. Wow. Okay. Thank you guys. Thank you for the call. They want to know who would you like to do your story, Trevor? Is it going to be a movie? Or is it going to be a TV one-time special or a series, a limited series has to be special? And what would it be called? And who will play you? Okay, Trevor, what do you think? Are you
Uh,
flattered?
I am very flattered. Can I get back to them next week? So
No, this is a
I can
one-time
keep
offer.
them on hold for a while here. Yeah. Um,
One-time offer. Well, hold on, let me get.
yeah,
Here's
who do they
Cameron.
think
He's
they
thinking about it. Okay, go ahead.
who do they think they are?
It's who do they think you are?
Okay.
That's the question.
I I uh I think maybe a limited series. I have a
Okay.
dread about series that go on forever and ever, and it's
Hmm.
only because some accountant decided that, hey, we have a winner here, let's drag it out for 5 years. Um, a
Touche.
limited series or a movie, I think.
Okay.
Um,
Who will direct it? First, who's your choice
okay, I let's have Keanu Reeves, I think. I think
to play you? To play you?
to play me.
Who's going
And
to direct it? What style? Is it a thriller? Is it a time travel? Is it romance, drama, sci-fi?
I think a bit of romance, certainly travel. Keanu Reeves. I've never jumped out of airplanes with a parachute, but I'd be willing to let the my stand-in do that. That would be good.
What's the title of the film and who's your director? You haven't told me yet. Who's directing it?
Jeez. Actually, I think Scorsese does fabulous work, so I
Oh,
think he'd be really good.
serious.
Yeah.
Okay. And
Um,
what are we calling it?
let's say uh, a life in multiple sets.
Okay. A life, I thought maybe a life in reverse.
In reverse. Yes, actually, I like that. Yeah, that's kind of a
RE
nice
dash
play on the
reverse.
poetry part. Yeah, I
Yes.
like that.
Yes. You like that?
Yeah,
Okay. So we've got Keanu Reeves, A Life in Something, and we've got Scorsese. You said Scorsese, right?
yeah.
And who else will be in it? Will it be about your real life, your family, or will it just be you as a hero star of this romance? What do you want to be?
Oh, I think the family could kind of drop in every once in a while, kind of one of those James Thurber kind of things. But otherwise,
Hmm.
I think I need to just kind of head off there someplace for each episode.
Okay. We could
Yeah,
each episode could be about one of your books and about one of your set of poetry. How about that?
that sounds. I think we have a winner here.
Reverse. I love it. I love a life in re dash ver. We gotta get to, we got. I'm gonna tell your agent Mickey Mickelson at Creative Edge PR. I'm gonna tell Mickey yeah, I'm borrowing you. We're gonna do something together. Mine will be a life story called either from the Donna Summer disc look list. It will be either She Works Hard for the Money or Hot Stuff or No More Tears, one of those three, and it has to be a redhead, even redder than this, and it would be. Might be Reba McEntire, who is really at the height of her popularity right now. The ones I would have liked who are no longer with us would be Maureen O'Hara and any of the other famous redheads who
Hmm.
graced the movie screens in the big John Wayne movies, those kinds of things. It'll be a musical, drama, no fantasy. It'll be a comedy as well, and it would be a 90-minute TV movie, I think, a one-time thing. And yeah, that's who would play me, and who would
No, I
direct.
think Bette Midler would have been a good.
People have said that. She's not.
Yeah.
I'm not built like her, but it could be. It could be Bette Midler. Somebody else said that to me. And as far as the director goes, it would probably be. I think I'd like Shonda Rhimes to do it
Ah,
because she writes very fast dialogue, and I think I talk
okay.
fast. Yeah, there's still a New Yorker in me. Fast dialogue and very, 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 very yes. So I think I would ask Shonda Rhimes to direct it, and Reba or Bet would play me, and my kids wouldn't want to be in it or be represented. It would just be me and my travels and journeys from being a shy little girl in Long Island, New York, to being a high energy host of multiple live streaming shows on the internet. It would be something like that. What do you think? Can we make that
I
work?
like it. Hey, I think if we do the two shows back to back, one can kind of lead into the other one. Hey, again, talk to Mickey about it. I think we got something here.
I think so, as long as I don't have to drink coffee because I'm wired enough. There we go. So now we're going to get to this segment is called Say What? You got to say it just like that. Say what? And we have,
What?
that's very, very good, Trevor. We didn't even rehearse that. You're good at it already. So What I'd like to do is have you present one story, and I will show a visual for your story because we talked about that before while you explain it, and then I'll show one of mine, and then we'll do one of yours, one of mine, and three each, and then we'll wrap up. So we're already at an hour here. We're just really trucking here. You don't have anything else to do, right? Nope.
Nope, nope. This was
Man,
it.
this is it, honey. This is it. Okay. So, what's your first story? And then I'm going to get ready to share. Hold on. Let me get your first story up here. I'm going to share my screen, and let me share here. Share. What's your first story? Why don't you start talking about it?
Well, the very first story is about something very popular in Sweden, and it goes on throughout the late winter, early spring, and it's millions tune in to see Sweden's annual moose migration.
There you go.
And apparently, so this is a big deal. So they have cameras set up all along where the moose are migrating in Sweden, and 24-hour, 24/7 people will tune in to various cameras all along the way as people are watching the moose migrating. And this is a big hit. It's even beat out kind of Swedish murder mysteries, which are actually quite good. But I guess the moose have won. They are number one for Swedish popularity. So
Very, very cool. That's quite a picture I found, isn't it? Like that
yeah,
one?
it's great.
Okay, let me go to my first story, which should be, as long as I'm still here, let me go. I've got three of yours. Let me go to mine. Do you know why we abbreviate number as NO, Trevor?
I did not know this.
Well, you've heard the phrase, there's no I in team, but there's no O in number either. And NO is still the standard abbreviation for number. Doesn't make any sense like LB for pound, OZ for ounce, RX for prescription. It goes back to the Latin word numero, NUMERO, translated to English as number. Numero sign has been historically expressed as capital N with a little tiny o, or no with a period or a comma, that shorten numero to just its first and last letters. And the Oxford English Dictionary has examples used as an adverb going back to the 1660s, Trevor, in reference books. And a citation from 1693 dictionary demonstrates the adverb usage. They were shifting in its usage. No VI, that is six in number. So that was
Right.
the word no. The abbreviation began to be used as a noun in reference books mid to late 18th century, and the Encyclopedia Britannica, remember that? In 1797, no, we don't remember that, when the magnifiers no, four, five, or six are used. It was adopted as outside materials, and it's been repeated and used by major authors. So there you go. Interesting?
Very interesting. Yes,
Okay.
it's always nice to know the etiology of various things, how we
Yeah.
got here.
And
Yeah.
this writer, I've never mentioned it, but Bennett Kleinman is a New York City-based staff writer for Optimism. It's a website, and I get these little snippets of origins of words all the time. He's also a freelance comedy writer, a devoted New York Yankees fan, a New Jersey Devils, and he thinks plain seltzer is the best drink ever invented. Bennett Kleinman, I've never mentioned you, I don't think, on the show, and you just got your time in the sun. Trevor, I'm going to your next story. What? Let me go back up here. Let me scroll city here. Let's go to this one is your okay, Trevor, what's your next story?
Okay. China hosts world's first half marathon race between humans and robots. Uh, Robots have raced against humans in a half marathon for the first time. 21 humanoid robots race alongside thousands of runners on a 21-kilometer course in Beijing, China, some Saturdays ago. Some of the robots, actually, one of them fell over at the beginning. They had to pick him up. Perhaps he hadn't had enough coffee that morning. Who knows? But anyway, the robots clunked along and did finish the course. Many of them. They had to recharge them at various points. But it's that now. I think we should be very concerned here. I mean, it's one thing to have robots taking over a whole bunch of other things, but now they're even taking over our running. So I don't know. I see a conspiracy here, a conspiracy of robots, but yeah.
That's a tough thing to say right now. Let me go to my second story. I'm scrolling past yours. We did the number story already. Nine of the silliest words in the English language. And since you're a writer, I thought you would appreciate this. English language, twists, tricks, tongue twisters, influenced by foreign words and culture, shifts in society, and technological advancements. Let me get rid of that extra period here. So I'm going to read a couple words and tell me if anything resonates with you and you might want to use it in your next book of poetry, Trevor. So we have lollygag, we know, which is to dawdle or procrastinate. It dates back to 1862. Lolly is the tongue, and gag is the trick. So there's the origins there. You just put your hand up and wave me when you like one. Collywobbles is you got a tummy ache. Absomnial, no, Bonnie, it was abdominal. There we go. Typing too fast in the middle of the night. Diphthong, we know what that is. When two sounds together, two vowels make a sound. Sound OU. It's not O, it's oo, it's ow. Noise, OI, and annoy, OY. Interesting. Gubbins, you ever heard of gubbins, Trevor?
I had not heard of gubbins. No.
Well, if you were British instead of Canadian, you might know it because if you bought the latest car with all the gadgets and gadgets, you'd say, my car has all the gubbins. And if you have a kitchen drawer with mystery where you throw all your stuff, it's full of gubbins. It's been in use since the 16th century. It means miscellaneous or fragments, gubbins. It sounds like somebody's name, my neighbor. We have one of a stomach rumbling called a borborygmus. Borborygmus. We've all been
That
in
seems
meetings.
to go along with the collywobbles one here. A lot of
It
stomach things here.
absolutely does. Now,
Let's
here's
say
one.
something about English cooking, perhaps.
We won't even talk about that. How about widdershins? I've never heard of this. It's counterclockwise or going in the wrong direction, a direction contrary to the sun's course, meaning unlucky.
Hmm.
Ah, widdershins. I don't know whether it's an adjective or a noun. Counterclockwise. It must be it must be an adjective. How about hobbledehoy? It's a clumsy person, but it's been tagged to young people. And the note here was the mid 16th century was a tough time. No running water, wars, religious disputes, and tomatoes were thought to be poisonous. But it must have been tough for teenagers because a Toddleby is considered to be an awkward teenager. No idea. Mugwumps, you've heard of that. It's
Hmm.
from the Algonquin word for great chief, mugquamp. There you go. And that's an activist group, and it's considered somebody who's got a big ego. And then you know this one, troglodyte, a person who lived in a cave, and it's also become part of comedy. So, any of those words you like to use at some point?
Well, troglodyte and I'm certainly familiar with that. Of course, the actually H.G. Wells' Time Machine talks about the troglodytes. They're kind of the underground people who are very scary in that book. A lot of these words are very captivating. I have to say, we have to watch with the diphthong here that we don't confuse it with other thongs. Okay, so yeah.
Comedy. Let's go to your third story. Here you go. Trevor's number three. What is this?
Okay, well, and I think we need to actually, Bonnie, to give a little caution to all your
Be
listeners, your
careful.
watchers here,
Be
because
careful.
this one is a little bit risque here. So, uh, this is from the Guardian Weekly. Historians dispute the Bayeux Tapestry. You have a picture of it up here. And this is a serious debate among historians, so we don't want to laugh too much. We want to
Hmm,
take historians seriously.
hmm.
Now, for people watching, you may not know what the Bayeux Tapestry is. This is actually a very, very long tapestry that was woven after the Battle of 1066, and it's a historical document of the invasion of England. And we have to remember that unfortunately, the video cameras were not working at the time. And so they had to rely on recording what went on by weaving a tapestry. Anyway, so a couple of historians have noted in the last number of years that there are a number of genitalia appearing in the tapestry.
Okay.
93 genitalia, to use the term.
Woo.
88 of those male appendages apparently are attached to horses. However, the remainder belong to human figures. But the dispute here, and this is a very heated one, I'm sure, at conferences at the moment. Um, One historian has said that there are five additional uh, appendages in these tapestries, but another historian had said, no, 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 there are actually six. And so they're arguing whether or not the identified six appendage is actually a sword or is it, in fact, an appendage. And so this could be one of the major debates in academia over the rest of this century, I suspect.
Are you just happy to hear me, or is that a tapestry in your pocket? Shall we leave it at that? Uh,
Indeed.
now, don't
Sensitive
forget,
ears here.
when we're done with my third story here, I would like you to read some of your poetry, which we had talked about, if you're willing. If you're willing, okay?
Certainly.
So here we go. 10 surprising hobbies of historical figures. Let me lower the size of this a little bit so we can get more on the screen. For most brilliant minds and influential figures, talk about creativity, they have found time to pursue personal passions, sometimes part of their work, leading to groundbreaking discoveries. So the gamut, here we go. Winston Churchill was an avid painter. He took it up after the age of 40, and he loved Edward Manet, Claude Monet, and Paul Cézanne, the Impressionists. His pictures are mostly landscapes. No, I don't have pictures, but you can look them up. He sold them to raise money for charity, and they were showcased at exhibitions. Were you aware of that, that Churchill was a painter?
I've seen some of them, at least copies of them. He was actually a very good painter. He took it up late, and yeah, he seems to have been quite good, quite skilled.
Well, here's something. Jefferson, Thomas Jefferson, third president of the U.S., was passionate about gardening. He planned and cultivated extensive gardens at Monticello or Monticello, and he also used them to test new crops and plant varieties. So he was a garden scientist. What do you think about that? Interesting?
Yeah, very interesting. You know, it shows again how many people have so many different skills that we don't always know about, and yet it's another part of them. So,
Absolutely. Albert Einstein played the violin. He was an accomplished violinist starting at age 6. He performed for family and friends. He found music relaxing and inspiring, and he said it enhanced his creativity. And I think we've all seen the quote, whether it's apocryphal or not, that if he weren't a physicist, he might have been a musician. What do you think about that? Pretty cool?
yeah, and again, you know, I understand actually it was kind of a just a break for him, and you know, from
Mm-hmm.
thinking about other kinds of issues about gravity, you know, he had this nice way of getting away from it with his
Very
violin.
nice. And it's documented. Teddy Roosevelt, TR, hiking, 26th president. He was a hiker and an adventurer, the rugged wilderness of the American West, the Badlands of North Dakota. His dedication also to preserve natural landscapes, and he established most of the national parks and natural monuments during his presidency. There you go, a hiker, Teddy Roosevelt. How about Darwin was a bird watcher? Interesting. In the Galapagos, played a pivotal role in the development of his theories and led to insights on the process of natural selection. That makes sense. Napoleon, Mr. Bonaparte, played chess. Did you know that, Trevor? He was a
That
skilled.
part I did not know. No.
Yeah, his approach mirrored his battlefield strategy with a focus on intense, calculated moves. Chess was a mental challenge and a form of relaxation. I tend to think that people who are not professional chess players probably feel the same way. The combination of mental challenge and relaxation that could be seen as a dichotomy that they bump into each other, but I think there's something about relaxing with a challenge. I think there's a way to do that. Mark Twain loved fishing like in his a lot of his stories. Nikola Tesla kept pigeons. Did you know that, Trevor?
That is a really interesting one. No, I did not know.
Yeah, he referred to it as his pigeon as his greatest companion. He was a solitary and often misunderstood man. His affinity for pigeons gave him a sense of accomplishment in his later years. He, of course, contributed to electrical engineering. Salvador Dali loved to collect insects, live specimens in his home, and he did bizarre experiments. Maybe that was part of the tapestry you
I just thought he collected melting clocks, but and watches, but
insects too. You don't want to crawl around his
yeah,
house. And Poe had a passion for cryptography. Talk about complex challenges, ciphers, and he was an early proponent of the use of codes and ciphers in literature. He published an essay on cryptography called The art of secret writing. We're not talking about cryptocurrency, children out there. We're talking about secret in codes, and there were women who specialized in cryptography, the code. There's all kinds of series. I think it was there's a show called Ble- Blep something Circle. I can't remember. BLEP was the start of it. There's a British TV show about the women who were the coders during World War II. It's
Oh yes,
a drama.
the Bletchley Circle.
Bletchley Circle. Thank you. I was
Yes,
close.
yes, yeah.
Got a P in there instead of a CHLEY. Trevor. Okay. Can we have some of your poetry, please? You pick something for us?
Yeah, I picked it. Actually, I have a poetry book that is out right now. It won't be out at least until the fall. I've termed the title of the poetry book is called Poetry Without Borders. And so I've picked a couple here that are rhyming ones. Not all of them in the text actually rhyme, but there's a section that actually is called Rhyme and Reason.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll couple of them here. One is called The Progeny, and both these are actually kind of fun, if in some sense kind of dark little poems. The Progeny. He shone from early on, said some a progeny, a celestial star, a sun, a whole cosmology. He bested those in music, science, maths, geometry, adept in the arts of making love, including treachery. He thrived on contradictions, the rational economy, and showed himself a master of adaptability. But met a scholar's death at last before gastronomy, quaffing only cornflakes, qua serial monogamy.
Love it. I love it. There's a lot of humor in there. What was the title of that one?
That one's called The Progeny.
Progeny. Okay, want to make
Now,
sure.
the next one and this one is actually sadly off of a true story many years ago. A short little story I found in a newspaper 40, 50 years ago. It's about Texas, and it's called The Spelling Bee Champion. The Texas crowd was hushed. The spelling bee was tied. Jimmy's father, mother, sister watched with nervous pride. Though not yet in his teens, little Jimmy had the stuff. No polysyllabic word too tricky, no arcane word too tough. He'd stared down every rival, watched them wither in their stead, like a vengeful Bible prophet, leave them silent, broken, dead. The final contest word was spoken. Young Jimmy spelled at last. Victory his, weeping, cheers. The champion came a shout. Jimmy's family hurried home, but when they got inside, Jimmy grabbed his father's gun and spelled familicide. Now, isn't that grim? But
I don't know what to say. That was quite an ending. Oh my goodness. Do you have one more? Or do you want me to read one of mine? I have one of mine
no,
queued up.
you go ahead.
Oh my
I've
goodness.
hit your audience with enough with that one.
You certainly have. I have one. This is one of my extended limericks, and as I said, I break the fifth line, so it's long.
I
The
love limericks. Yeah.
Okay, this I think you'll like this one, and I call this out on a long limb rick. That's how I title it. This is called Skip Forgiveness, Ask Permission, and the prompt we got from the moderator on May 7th was write a blame poem, something to do with blame. So here we go. 'Twas Saturday night. Timmy backed Dad's car into the front door 'cause he hit the gas too far. Daddy dear, don't blame me. Not my fault, as you can see. And here we go. Sweet Susie was on my lap playing the guitar, so could I please use the car again next Saturday night after I undent the bumper with our bathroom plunger and cover the ding with blueberry magic marker, which smells really good and kind of matches the car color. Then repaint the front door orange because it was an ugly color before I hit it. And I'll tell Susie to be more careful on the ride home after we leave the bar. That's how I break the fifth line in a limerick.
I,
Did you like it?
I love it. I love the pacing of it too. There's just that this rush to the finish.
It has to be read. It absolutely has to be read.
Exactly.
And I'll read you one of colleague Oliver. This is one of his. I'll give credit to Oliver M. and then my rejoinder. So he says there once was an old man named Bill who liked to brag about his stamina to women for a thrill. One night it was said with Molly, he was limp in bed. Bill said I must have forgotten the generic blue pill. So I wrote back, Old Bill tried to give Molly a ride, but there's one thing she just can't abide. As the blue moon had risen, Bill's mast was a mizzen. Molly left, and Bill blamed his first bride. I don't usually read body poems on this show, but we went
Well,
back and forth several times here on that, and it just was so much fun. What'd you think? Cool?
I love it. My congratulations too on the fact you were able to write a body poem without trying to rhyme with Nantucket.
Oh, we gave up on Nantucket a long, long time ago. Let me see if there's one more here. Let me see if we were doing the April poem, and let's see, a sleep poem. Let me see. The last. Let me see. Blah 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 blah. This is Wednesday. We had a sleep prompt this week. A remix poem, the end of the beginning, color poem, a new blank poem. Okay, let me see if I can find one, and then we'll end here. So this one was. I'm looking for the Joan Rivers poem and I can't find it. Okay, I'll read you one. This was Write a Luck poem, and this is called Out on Four Limerick, Sunday Silliness. 'Twas Friday 13, but sweet Sue knew her luck would soon turn, 'twas overdue. Tall Bob walked in the door of her cute sweet shop store, and he looked into Sue's eyes of blue. Sweet Sue then returned tall Bob's gaze. Would you like jelly donuts with glaze? She asked with a smile. Bob paused for a short while. No, I like something fresh to amaze. Please wait just a moment, Sue said, as her cheeks were hued all fuchsia red. She returned with a cake, heart-shaped with coconut flake. Would you try my new recipe instead? Tall Bob gave the tort his review. First one bite, then he had quite a few. Now sweet and tall, two are one. Wed Friday the 13th in the sun. Limo bumper read, just married, brand new.
I like it.
That's
I like it.
four limericks. There you go.
Yeah.
Okay. And I just have a lot of fun with this. I'm not going to read anymore, but Trevor, I've written about 500 poems in the past 2 years with this. Every Wednesday for April and November, we get a prompt, and then we go back the rest of the months of the year to only Wednesdays. And I was writing between 3 and 5 poems every single Wednesday for all of April and November for 3 years.
Mm,
Interesting.
yeah. Yeah.
It opens the faucet of just what's on your mind and creativity. And there are about 50 people who participate in this. I'll send you the link if you're ever
Yeah.
interested in joining. So listen, what's your advice if there's a cool dude watching or not, or there's a mommy who says, I got a kid here and I think he could grow up to be a cool dude like Trevor H, Trevor Harrison. What would your advice be to a cool dude? Let me get the music ready to go here. What would your be advice to a cool dude who's thinking of, I want to be cool when I grow up like Trevor? What do you think?
Uh, don't work too hard to be cool. Just, just,
Ooh.
just be yourself and live your life and try to do interesting things that interest you, and don't be afraid to take on experiences. And when you look back, someone else is going to say, "Hey, you're a cool dude," and you won't have even realized yourself that you were, but I guess that's what you became.
There you go. And like a line, and I don't know from exactly which piece, but from Leonard Cohen, if there's a crack in the light coming in through the window or the door, my advice when I'm mentoring younger people is everybody's younger these days. My advice is open the window, kick open the door, see what's on the other side. It might be something that's really interesting for you. It might be a change of pace, a change of venue, a change of scenery, a change of profession, a change of style, but embrace it, see what's there. Don't close the window and don't, well, sometimes you need to lock the door, but in the case of creativity, don't lock the door. I'm going to play the music. Trevor H., you have been pure delight. Stick around and we'll talk a little bit. So let's play the outgoing music again. I wrote the lyrics to So You Want to Be, and my good friend in Paris, who is a composer whose music has been used on movie scores and Cirque du Soleil, and some big companies have used it. He wrote the the music and he sings the song. So let's go out with So You Want to Be. Here we go. See those dance moves, Trevor?
So you wanna be
So much.
a cool
My drums are in the other room.
hanging with an ink cassette, looking real,
Looking real. cool, and fine. Casting your net. Here we go.
So you wanna be
Ready for the drum bridge. Bop, 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 bop. Thank you very much, Bonnie D. Signing off for another wonderful, I think, episode of So You Want to Be. We dish to Saucy Dame and Cool Dude. Thank you, Trevor. I hope you had a good time. And let's say goodbye. Wave goodbye to social.